When you think of the United Kingdom, poverty isn't the first thing that comes to mind. It's one of the richest countries in the world, with a record numbers of billionaires living right here. But at the same time, the cost of living crisis is driving many people into poverty. Something needs to be done about it before it's too late. But first, let's go through the facts to get some context. Over 4.4 million people, or 1 in every 5 individuals in the UK, is currently living in poverty. This includes a staggering 4.2 million children. Poverty is a very complicated issue, but feeding a child isn't. 3.8 million people are living in destitution, with over 1 million of these individuals being children. Poverty isn't even a new thing to the UK. It's been a thorn in our side for many years. What doesn't help is our government cutting much needed services, putting immense pressure on millions of low-income families. For the last few years, every Prime Minister has tried and failed to deal with the problem. It's actually been decades since poverty figures were last down. The reality is that many are struggling just to afford the basics and are increasingly reliant on charities and food banks for survival. And we're not just talking about unemployed people. It's well documented that nurses are being forced to use food banks just to get by. This isn't right, and you know it, I know it. It's wrong. The government benefit programs are just not good enough. They don't cover the basic cost of living, meaning that even those receiving support can still remain in poverty. Another significant factor is the high cost of housing. With a large portion of income going towards rent or mortgage payments, it leaves little for other essentials like food, heating and transport. This situation is even more difficult in our major cities, with high housing costs making it difficult for low-income families to find affordable accommodation without falling into poverty. Discrimination and inequality also play a crucial role in increasing poverty. Certain groups, including ethnic minorities, disabled people and single parents, are more likely to face barriers to employment and higher rates of poverty. This discrimination can limit access to well-paid jobs, education and training opportunities, keeping these groups in a cycle of poverty. The increasing costs of living, particularly the rise in food and energy prices, has placed even more strain on already stretched budgets. Many families are having to choose between heating their homes and feeding themselves, a choice that no one should have to make. The consequences of poverty extend far beyond immediate financial hardship, touching every aspect of a person's life and well-being. The physical health implications are vast. People living in poverty are more likely to suffer from malnutrition, breathing problems and chronic conditions such as diabetes and heart disease due to inadequate access to healthy food, clean air and healthcare services. It's well known that to buy healthy food is always so much more expensive than the so-called fast foods. This cycle of poor health further restricts their ability to work, learn and to engage with society, making their financial situation even worse. Mental health is another critical concern. The constant stress and anxiety of living in financial insecurity can lead to depression and other mental disorders. The lack of resources to seek professional help often leaves conditions untreated, creating a vicious cycle that can impact generation after generation. Children growing up in poverty are particularly vulnerable. They face higher risks of developing or not developing, being stunted, poor academic achievement and social exclusion. Now, these early disadvantages can have long-lasting effects on their future employment opportunities, income potential and health, again perpetuating the cycle of poverty. High rates of poverty contribute to increased crime rates. Individuals desperate just to get by may have no choice but to turn to illegal activities. It also places a heavy burden on social services and healthcare systems, stretching resources thin and impacting the quality of care available for the entire population. What's really sad is when you realise that life expectancy is actually declining in many parts of these deprived areas of the UK. We are potentially facing an urgent public health crisis that demands immediate attention. For children growing up in poverty, protecting their well-being and future prospects is vital. Single-parent families are particularly vulnerable to poverty. Statistics show that single-parent households have a higher likelihood of living below the poverty line compared to two-parent households. This is often due to a combination of factors, including restricted earning potential, increased childcare responsibilities, and lack of support. It's hard enough with two incomes, but having just one can make it challenging for those families to absorb financial shocks or unexpected expenses. Elderly individuals also face a significant risk of poverty, particularly those who rely solely on state pensions and do not have additional retirement savings or other pensions. With rising healthcare costs and living expenses, many find it difficult to maintain a decent standard of living. Now, people with disabilities or those caring for family members with disabilities experience higher rates of poverty due to the additional costs associated with healthcare, mobility, and other necessary services not always fully covered by public assistance programs. Now, this is an election year in the UK, so whoever wins, please listen up. You need to address poverty like your life depended on it. For millions of people, what you do will decide if it will break them free of poverty or continue to drown them in it. This country needs structural changes to the social and economic policies that perpetuate inequality. We need a taxation system that will actually help the poor. We also need to improve access to quality education and healthcare, ensuring a living wage and creating more affordable housing. Improve access to nutritious food and healthcare services in deprived areas could help mitigate some of the immediate health impacts of poverty. We need to heal the mental damage that has been caused by years of neglect of the poor. By doing so, there's potential not just to treat illness, but to proactively address the social determinants of health, such as housing instability, food insecurity, and social isolation. Investing in mental health services is equally critical, given the profound impact of poverty on mental well-being. Furthermore, community-based interventions can play a crucial role in supporting those in poverty. By bolstering social support networks and offering resources for those struggling with addiction or at risk of homelessness, communities can provide a lifeline for their more vulnerable members. Ultimately, tackling poverty and its extensive consequences requires a concerted effort from government, civil society, and communities. It is an investment in the future prosperity and health of this country, ensuring that everyone, regardless of their socio-economic status, has the opportunity to lead a healthy and fulfilling life. Thanks for watching. If you like what you see, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.